No one takes the gamification of life on YouTube seriously. Sure, there are a few throwaway ideas from YouTubers in the productivity space who enjoy gaming, but no in-depth frameworks or systems. It honestly surprised me that these productivity YouTubers who like games didn't actually use the same techniques that game developers use to make their games so addicting and fulfilling. And let's be honest, because of that, we spend way more hours of our life than we want to admit in them. The general trend of monk mode and dopamine detoxing has obliterated the idea that games can provide any value within our lives, and in fact that they're just rotting our brains away. But there's a literal goldmine of productivity tips that we overlook that we gamers use to create substantial frameworks to develop our dream characters in those games. We literally spend hours developing the most fulfilling playstyles within the games that we play because game developers themselves meticulously crafted the systems so that we can enjoy the game they worked on for 5 years. Imagine if we designed our dream lives in the same way that game developers create their games that people pretty much spend their whole lives in because it's so enjoyable, but without having to spend 5 years in game development. In the last 2 years, I've been applying just a few of these game design principles and got insane results in my physique. I went from being fat and addicted to video games to enjoying spending 2 to 3 hours in the gym at least 5 days a week. In the last 6 months, I've taken this philosophy of life game design seriously. This is the first episode in a series of videos showing you the outline of a course I created to construct a top-down approach to designing our dream lives. I use a Notion, TickTick, and Google Calendar workflow to organize and gamify all the areas of life that fulfilled me. And this is all built on the back of a system I call S.P.E.C.I.A.L. Inspired by the Fallout series, I was really looking for a more intuitive way to mark progression towards my goals, but also how to tie that in with a system to organize the areas of my life. Using this S.P.E.C.I.A.L framework has allowed me to create a top-down construction of how I want to build my dream life, and also links with one of my favorite concepts from modern mythology, the Infinity Stones. From creating a vision board for each area of life, from there, taking the 2 most important areas to us in relation to our dream goals within 5 to 10 years, breaking those goals down for those areas into projects for each year, then further into the quarters for this year. Before I explain how the special system works to you, let's address the boring productivity approach. A lot of productivity planners filter into either work or personal, and then have countless categories within those 2 folders to try and organize the mess within. The system I created takes a holistic approach to organizing the areas of life that fulfill us, and from there, we can match the goals we want to our databases as well. So we know exactly where they should go, and it gives each an aesthetic theme to follow. Once we achieve the clarity of the playstyle we want in life, which I'll explain later in the series, we go on to create gamified habit stacks based on the goals that we set for ourselves. So linked to the habit stacks, we have item rewards that mark progression, but also relate to each respective Infinity Stone. Let's briefly go over how each Infinity Stone relates to an area of life and how we organize our tasks and database and projects within them, and then I'll show you my workflow on a specific area that I'm focusing on at the moment. Coded with my favorite color, Murasaki, which embodies power and passion. The strength section is related to the power stone. The relative strength and health of our bodies are directly correlated to the amount of power and passion that we can put in all of the other areas of our lives. Within the strength folder, I class obviously my strength and physique with my progression in bodybuilding, but also general health, things like appointments for physio, doctor, or the dentist. The persistence section connecting to the space stone is all about controlling the space around us. The blue reminds me of flowing water, and I use this tab to set my intentions of persistence within it. Here I manage the obligations in my life that I need to do for life to run smoothly. These are things like housework, meal prep, and my car care. My immediate space, but also what allows me to traverse space. Everything we do here is to set up the basics of life and let it flow like running water. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, encourages us to be the architects, or in this case designers, of our environments instead of being the victims of them. And the more easily we allow our basic life systems to flow, the more time and energy we can put into other more fulfilling areas of life. Reflecting the color of nature, the time stone represents the experience section. Having the power to choose how we spend our time is how we harness the power of the time stone in real life. I use this tab for planning the experiences I want to have, like holidays, plans with my boys, and even planning out what anime and games I want to spend time with. What makes our lives so meaningful is that we only have a limited amount of time on this earth. We will never be able to achieve everything we want, so that means that the few things that we deliberately spend time on are all the more special. Creating my reality with this section is what this channel is all about. In the movie, when Thanos uses the power of this red stone, he is able to make reality whatever he wants it to be, simply with a thought. I believe our creativity and generating income from it is how we harness the power of the reality stone in real life. I use this tab to manage the projects within this channel, like this course that I'm doing, and the video series related to it. And also a passion project of mine that I call Modern Mythology, mixing the lessons learned from the journeys of the characters we love to watch with the wisdom of podcasts we love to listen to. A bonus sub-tab within creativity is contribution, because we are all not so lucky as to already be using our creative outlets to generate income. We must first start with basic contributions to society in order to pay for our livelihoods. But the ultimate goal is to use the most fulfilling area of our lives, or combinations of them, and use that to pay our way through this limited journey that we have as human beings. Okay, I've got to admit this was so close to being perfect, but I'm a gamer at heart. Let me explain. In the movies, the Soul Stone is orange and the Mind Stone is yellow. The next tab after intelligence is achievements. And there is no way I could call myself a gamer without making the achievements page yellow like a game trophy. Okay, that makes sense, right? Come on. In Mikey's cinematic universe, the Mind Stone carries great relation to intelligence. This is the space and database for what you are learning. So for books, as someone on self-development, you're pretty much obligated to have Atomic Habits in there with a few other iconic entries. I'm also doing Ali Abdol's YouTube course, and I keep my notes and learnings from that in this section too. And for you absolute productivity freaks, yes, this is the central hub for your second brain. Yellow, game trophies, fulfillment through achievements, fulfilling your soul. Soul Stone. See? This makes sense. Looking back and reflecting on our achievements is something that personally really fulfills my soul. And the more achievements that we accumulate in life in each of the areas of special, I feel like the more enriched our soul becomes. And because we don't actually have a game user interface that we can tap into at any time, it's really hard to take inventory of the achievements that we've already had. I think this is really the root of imposter syndrome. And Chris Williamson from the Modern Wisdom podcast really highlights this well when he quotes Alex Hormozy to Alex Hormozy in this viral quote. And finally, the last tab, which is lifetime. This is where we organize how we're going to organize our lives. It's the main dashboard within this whole life game design framework. Here is where we set out the vision of what we want our dream lives to be, and from this space, we can determine what actions we need to take to hit those milestones. I also use this space to plot out my progress in the year, the months, and the weeks. And connected to those are weekly, quarterly, and yearly reports. In my course and coaching package, we only focus on a maximum of 2 areas to really focus on and plot out our timelines for each of those goals, because honestly we only have a limited amount of energy that we can dedicate to either of them, and the more we spread ourselves out, the less we can actually get done. To keep this video really simple, I'm going to show you my workflow just from the creativity side of things, all the way from going to the vision, to managing my tasks and projects, to plotting out my weekly calendar. Okay, so before we go into the Notion page, I just want to say there is a rhino-sized rabbit hole of trying to put everything into Notion, like your tasks, your calendars, and having them sync together. There is a crazy amount of tutorials that you need to follow in order to set that up yourself. And if you buy a template and you try to adjust it, it will just break it. This is why I left all of that stuff in TickTick. And this is why I use Notion to create the vision and the base of this whole framework. Anyways, let's jump into my creativity page. So from here, I have links on the menu on the left. I put my current focus, so that's this video and the course I'm creating around this whole video series. And on the right over here, I always want to keep my vision in mind, so that's something that's pinned right here. And in the middle is where I get to work. So within the projects folder of Life Game Design, this is kind of the rough idea of how this video series will be. So I'm slowly building this video series up so I can show you the outline of this whole course that I've created. So the whole thing starts with this special intro video to show you how this framework works. So in this page, it's just pretty much a whole database. I didn't put any tasks in here or subtasks because I left that all to TickTick, where the system is built already and you can easily reorganize and recategorize all of your tasks. Because if I tried to do this in one app, like TickTick, if I tried to make a list like this, it would just be a mess. And if I tried to put the tasks in this, again, it would be a mess. So let's go down again one step, which is going into task management from project management. Within TickTick, I use the same general structure of special for each list that I have. And each list carries a set of tasks that I need to do, and I have tags for all of them. And with subtags, like you can see in experience. So if I click any one of these subtags, I can quickly see these things like Mother's Day, my dad's birthday, the cast with my brother-in-law, stuff like that. So it's really easy to organize all of your tasks and see what's coming up in a specific area. So let's go into the creativity page right now. So over here, got this, and within creativity is life game design here. And this is where I keep the tasks that I need to really adjust and fine tune them, because within creating a video, there's a whole bunch of steps within creating a video. So I really break that down into each stage, and within each stage, I have subtasks, and even sometimes within the subtasks, I'll have things like I could individually do this, and I could make this subtasks of this task like really easily. Like, see how quick that is, bro. Like, honestly, I saw all of those Notion tutorials, and if I wanted to do something like this on the fly, like, it is such a headache, man. Like, so this week I knew I had to make this video, and because I have each stage and I roughly know how much time it's going to take for each stage, so then I can plot out in my calendar for the next week how long I need to take on all of those things. I'm gonna jump on my phone and show you my calendar, because when you open it in the web app, it kind of hides it. It like blurs everything out like this. So I don't want you guys to see that. Let's jump onto my phone. I'll do a screen recording. The really great thing about this whole system is that when I do my weekly reflections, I know exactly where I've spent my time within this whole system at a glance, because I put it in with the color coding of S.P.E.C.I.A.L. So the first section, which is strength, is purple, and we can see that plotted out right here. So I use that for my gym sessions and also for my physio. I also have got Invisalign, so that was this. And that's like generally to do with the strength section, general health, physique, etc. Next is persistence, and like I said before, it's for your life obligation kind of things. So I use that for my morning routine and also meal prep and things like that. Next is experience, and I use that for the time I take to eat, because generally when I eat, I'll like watch an episode of anime, so it's just like 20 minutes. And also I can see at a glance how much time I spend on taking time to really experience life. I went to go watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with my dad, and that was absolutely amazing. Onto creativity, that's where you can see the majority of my time is spent on this calendar, apart from work. And yeah, the week before I plotted this all out into individual tasks. So at the end of our weekly reflection that I do with my self-development group, I do some time blocking based on the things that we said are the most important. And moving on to intelligence, that's where we code it with orange. So I use that for doing things like I have an app called Snipped, which I record podcasts that I listen to on. You can actually take snips of the best highlights from the podcast that you listen to. It's such an amazing app. I'll link it in the description. And I also use this color to code the time that I spend doing Ali Abdul's YouTube course study. So yellow is achievements, but in this, because there's not actually like a period of achievement that I need to record like this, instead I use it to label the times of days. So in another video, this is another framework that I use, using a system of combat, resource gathering, and exploration. It's kind of 3 tiers of energy levels and specific tasks that you would do in each of those categories. And if I do have the energy, then I'll just ignore that. It's kind of just like a rough guideline. And lastly, we have the lifetime tab, which I said is how we organize things. And the time I spend doing that is how I label it with gray instead of black. So that's the whole workflow done from ideation to implementation, using this 3-step process within all these apps, using them to their greatest strengths and getting shit done. Let me know if you have any questions about the S.P.E.C.I.A.L framework specifically, because there's a lot I could deep dive into, but also if you have any questions about how I set up my Notion or TikTok or Google Calendar for that matter. In the next video, I really want to deep dive and address the first stage of my course, which is creating the whole vision board thing, but not a vision board of manifestation bullshit. This is a fulfillment board, which is completely different. And in that video, I'll deep dive and explain it to you. I hope to see you there.